What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of NF Twins. Today, you're going to learn about voice AI agents and why they are important.
Exactly, and especially why now, right? Because that's one of the questions. Why weren't they relevant a year, 2 years ago? And are you right now in a situation where prices of AI models reach a point that you get more capacities or capabilities that even like you can have AI calls? So we'll talk about or find this out all in this episode. So stay tuned.
Play the song. Bam, bam, bam.
All right, Mike. So, in general, please maybe give the listeners a quick overview. What are out there, and of course, then we of course will jump in how it actually works.
All right. I think we should first split up what's out there. You mean what kind of voice AI provider there is out there, or okay? So, providers is a couple. Okay, voice is a very complex topic. Okay, so you got to break them down into what are the components that are made out of. Okay. So you usually have an LLM, so a base model, the brain, so to say, like ChatGPT or Llama from Meta, etc. This is all the thinking, okay? And in texting, I mean, you guys are familiar with it. ChatGPT, probably you've used it in one form or another. It's just chatting. So what is the difference between chatting and then voice? Well, obviously, you hear something, the actual voice.
Exactly. And then one of these things is
just better.
Exactly. So, for example, how does ChatGPT even how does it talk, right? Because in the end, it's like you need to first convert your audio, like your speech, to text so that actually ChatGPT can interact with it. For example, this could be Deepgram, etc., which is called voice to text. Now, this needs to happen very fast. And then after you're hearing your voice, the text model, aka let's say ChatGPT 4o mini cluster, will respond. And then afterwards, what happens then, Mark? I mean, you don't want to see a message on your phone, right?
Exactly. You translate it back to voice. Then you choose a voice, well, whatever voice that you want. There's different providers. We're going to into it a little bit later, but let's explain the workflow really quick. So you have translate into a voice again, and then you hear it over the speaker. Okay. So start to summarize. So
and you have all to happen in less than a second, right? Because otherwise, you're like, imagine you talking, and then you get a message 3 seconds later. They're just like talking you over the phone 20 years ago.
The lag. I mean,
exactly. TeamSpeak or whatever, 20 years ago.
That sucked. All right. So summarize. Look. So it starts off with your voice input. Your voice gets transcribed into text. So voice to text. Then the LLM, so ChatGPT, gets that text message, then answers. That answer is directly translated, actually live, word by word, when it has it, little boxes, to avoid it transcribed, and then it is directly implemented into voice. So text to speech, which then you hear. So that's how it works.
So now, how does it all translate into a product, right? Because in the end, it's like, man, that sounds very complicated. How are you going to build this, right? So we're talking now about all this is called AI infrastructure, or we just call it in this case the AI infrastructure, right? It's basically the people who sell the shovels in the gold rush. They're making a lot of money because, like in the end, not everybody will find gold, but hell, you sold a lot of shovels, right?
And because you're selling the dream, Exactly. That's what matters.
You're selling the tools for them to potentially first of all, search for the dream or potentially even reach their dream, right? So that's why those infrastructures, like for example, ChatGPT is one of them, so OpenAI. Then the other one would be Labs, so for example, for voices. I would say 11 Labs probably right now the market leader regarding AI voices. They sound very, very realistic, but they also have a premium price.
The market leader in independent voices, because OpenAI and all this stuff, they are getting much, much better.
That is true. But yeah, for open ones for sure. And then, of course, you have a transcriber, right? So, for example, transcriber needs to happen very, very fast. And then, as we mentioned already before, it's called Deepgram. Now, these sound like, all right, you have so many different models. Like, how do you actually combine them, right? Because you need to put them all in an assistant. And that's what we call, what do you want to call this? Like voice wrappers? Or how do you want to call it? Sandwich?
Oh, it's a wrapper. I don't know. It's just another form of a ChatGPT or
need to have a better name. We need to have a better name for this.
The voice sandwich, all right? This is the voice sandwich. Similar to the cock sandwich that you always eat, Lucas.
That's not much, to be honest. I've seen what you're working with. Anyways, by the way, so who don't know, who just listen to us, we're twins. So yeah, it's a low shot. It's a low blow. Anyways, so coming back. So Mark, let's talk about like Wappy and all the other ones, right? So what are they? And of course,
it's called Vappy, Lucas, not Wappy.
Wappy. Okay, then Wappy. All right, Mark, give us an update. What is it?
All right. So Vappy is one of these voice wrappers that Lucas already mentioned. What they do is they combine all the workflow that we described to you guys, from voice input to transcribing to the LLM to again into a voice and then output, all in one sweet package. You don't have to deal with fucking connecting all these, because they also need to run on the very, very fast, so that you have a server instance that is running smooth. It's constantly online, doesn't have a lot of lag. Exactly. That's all it means. Needs to be all the infrastructure they're setting. They probably have some private service that they're running for sure. And then they sell it to you in a nice, neat format. There's Vappy, like Lucas said already. There is Synthflow. It's a German company. There's another one. It's called Blend AI, US company as well. And I think the other one is Phonely, that we are aware of. They are very generic. I think Phonely might be even a wrapper on top of Vappy. I think.
Yeah. I don't think Phonely is one. Phonely I think is a wrap of a Vappy.
Vappy. So it's just Vappy, I think, and Synthflow that and Blend AI. These are the three. They're really, really good. They're a little bit different. They have different interfaces, but they're interesting because there you can also then choose, like we said, each step, transcribing, voice to text, text to voice, LM. You can choose all these different providers because they also have obviously different costs. So for example, the ChatGPT model, they might be more expensive. There's like the big one and there's a smaller one. The 4.0 mini cluster, cheaper. 4.0 regular cluster, much more expensive. So you can get to choose voices, etc. 11 Labs, really good, but more expensive. So they all wrap it and just makes you, here are the tools, boy. Go and play.
I mean, also in general, you can choose, like, for example, some models are better in certain tasks than other ones, right? Because you don't want to stick with one. So that's a great part, because they did all the job to already integrate it there. So you can just choose it. Or for example, some models have a higher latency. And if you have a call, you don't want to have a super high latency, because imagine you have to wait 1 second just for the bot to react. In a conversation, like a second is a lot. In an email, who don't give a fuck, because like it doesn't really matter like when the email is gonna send. Like,
I mean, we've all lived through COVID, so everybody knows when they're a fucking Zoom meeting and you're lagging, like it's just
and you're always interrupting each other. Then it's just like it's not flowing, right? The fluidity of the conversation is gone. So that's why, I mean, at least from our experience, you should have at least lower than 1 second, so like 900 milliseconds. Probably the best is probably 700 milliseconds that we've seen so far, which is really, really good. And
750, I think, yeah,
750, which makes it like smooth. Also, then cool things you can add, like, okay, stop after two words, right? Interrupt. So, for example, because imagine you're texting ChatGPT, right? The problem is with ChatGPT, it keeps it like it wants to answer, so it just like and gives you like a lot of text, right? And it's just not doesn't stop when you start talking. While as in an AI voice chat, like a normal conversation, people tend to interrupt each other quite frequently. So you can say, okay, I want to have after 2 words when it was interrupted to stop, right? So stuff like this, which makes it more natural. And you can create amazing assistants. Right, Mark? So now we've talked about the technology. We talked about the shovels. How to put it together. So what are the things that we're seeing that might be interesting?
Well, so you're talking about business applications, right?
Yes.
Ooh, make that money.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, there's limitless. I mean, anything that uses a phone nowadays, because habits die hard. Everybody knows that. And the older generation still uses a lot the phone in terms of calling more. And honestly, sometimes companies don't have websites because websites are costly to maintain. Well,
yeah, I think
it's a recurring cost, right? So it's much easier with something else that it has already integrated.
Okay, I want to give a famous example. Well, at least they raised a lot of money. They're called Sierra AI. So what they offer, so they raised, I think, over 110 million. They just started, I think, last year. And what they do, they solve all like customer relationship issues, right? So for example, they are partnered with like Sonos, called Sonos, the sound system. Sierra AI. Let me just open it. It's like super interesting. Let me share my screen. Boop. Here we go. Sharing it right now. All right. So they can do a lot of things. For example, they integrate directly in your Shopify, and then, for example, you're texting with the customer support, which is, for example, an AI, and say, "Hey, sorry, I want to return my product," and then it will help you get to the like refund if you don't want to refund it. If not, it can ship you new ones. And yeah, doing quite well. Looking at their integration Shopify, you can give their own knowledge base, which is quite
100
common, to
million,
be
that's
honest.
a fucking shit ton of money, man. They need to.
Yeah, I mean, they need to make a lot of money now. But I think it's just like, as you see, like they have really, really big, like Weight Watchers, big clients.
Brands, yeah.
And you also see like resolution rate with Sierra. So they're measuring it. I'm not sure what the average is for normal customer support. But basically, what it does, it just makes it very standardized. You can like for how like people will be treated, right? Because like in the end, it all depends which customer support guy you get. Sometimes you have horrible one, sometimes you have a great one, and depending on that, the experience will be so much different. Whereas an AI, you can standardize it, and then of course you can run models over it to see like, all right, what is their review? For example, you can introduce analytics. Something that we didn't talk about, which is actually really, really important, is AI can actually analyze the tone of your voice, right? Based on it, it can just, for example, say whether somebody sounds happy, more agitated or not. For example, that way also during a conversation, if the agitation level decreases, means it's like a more likely they seem to be happy, right? So then you can also create NPC, so NPS, so Net Promoter Scores. So Net Promoter Scores actually is a scale from 0 to 10 in the results, meaning, for example, and then so basically 9 and 10 means basically they will recommend, they will talk, they're promoters, they will talk about your brand, whereas 8 and 7 are neutral, and then 6 and below will talk shit about your brand. They're like, oh my god, customer service was so shitty, and they subtract.
So
from
it's
your
not a
value.
linear. It's not a linear.
Exactly.
Numbers, yes, but at the end of the day, it's not like, 5 is average. No. Anything
exactly.
below 7 is shit.
And then because like each one has one value, right? So and then you have to add them up, and then you have a result. Let's say you have 10 tens, that's 100, but you also have like
100 ones.
Yeah, 100 ones. Yeah, exactly. Then you have like 0 Net Promoter Score of 0. And actually, that score can range from 100 to -100. Just to give an example, it's quite interesting, which is fascinating and possible with AI. But I think that was a good example what AI can do already for bigger companies.
I mean, this is just like customer support, but it's also answering the phones, right? AI receptionists, reaching out is also super interesting for sales, maybe.
That's something
I'm not sure. Yeah.
That yes, it's possible. I've seen already outbound like bots or like AI calls. But my question is more: aren't people willing to accept an AI call as an outbound, like, right? Whereas as customer support, I think it might take more time till people will accept AI when they get called.
Honestly, I think so as well. I think it's too spammy because what's the difference? How do I know that this is not a scam call?
Exactly.
It's a voice, right? Versus, hey, this is George calling. Hey, at least it seems more like a human, so you get scammed by a human. I don't know.
But maybe at the same time, you're like,
school. I want to get scammed by a human. There needs to be someone working there. I don't want this to be a machine.
But that's also one of the things. Like one point in time, it will just be AI talking to each other, right? Because you will have like an answering machine on your phone, which is just AI and basically saying, "Hey, all right, who are you? What do you want?" And then I'm sure it will happen like with the verification, right? So that these bots get a verification code or whatever, so they can say, all right, this is really this company. Let me just pull it out of my ass right here. Anyways, but I think this might be a good idea just to think about it, that those AI will have like I don't know, might even be like something related to crypto with like a ledger where it's like you can't fake it, right? So they have this ID and they belong to their company, so they can say, all right, I'll let it through. So like Apple's new AI.
This reminds me on Twilio. So Twilio was Twilio is a company that is very, very big in terms of phone, like voice over internet. It's voice over IP. So if you want to have a call on one end is over the internet at some point, and they have online numbers, and then they use also the regular phone lines, so you can connect them through your cell phone, etc. And they also, if once you want to buy a new number, you have to register as well your company. So I think that might be a way then to accomplish this. At least I had to do that. I don't know, maybe I did something wrong, but I had to register my company name, etc. before I could buy the.
But how does the user? How would the user?
Well, there's a register, right? So Twilio has a register for sure. So I'm saying this somewhere, they save the shit.
Yeah.
So if you register this, for sure, not fucking throwing this in the garbage.
That's true.
So you have a ledger somewhere, and you can do this. I don't know. I'm thinking this could be a service from Twilio at some point, or something like that.
All right. So summoning up, I think like right now is the time for all these startups, especially with voice, because like we're seeing two things. First of all, AI voices sound very, very realistic. To be honest, it's like almost indistinguishable. Of course, there's still certain things like when it gives you phone numbers, it's horrible. Let's put it this way. But I mean, you can tweak it. It's fine with prompts. But also right now, the prices for the model decreased so much that, for example, right now, I think between a phone call, you're paying right now between, let's say, 7 and 18 cents, depending on which models you will actually be using per minute, right? So like for customer support, that might be worth it for sure. For certain other things, it might not be yet. But as we've seen the tendency that in general, those models decrease in price will help for sure that there will be so many new opportunities that arise, right? So that's why I see. What do you see, Mark?
No, I was just laughing. It's just like, man, sometimes they're shit still, right? It's just like the model's just buggy.
It's crazy. Like, I mean, also I used accidentally. I chose a voice, and then I chose the wrong underlying voice model. So it's different voice and voice model, and then all of a sudden it sounded super. It's like a voice engine. And it sounded like super garbage, and I was like, "What the hell is wrong with them?" Because it was like a Spanish one, but it then pronounced it like an American, like American English, like horrible. I'm like, dude, aren't you supposed to be a native Spanish speaker here? But yeah, it's like interesting, like how certain things, just settings can change a lot. But yeah, coming back, I think is right now is the point, especially when it gets cheaper and cheaper, you will see more and more B2C products coming out. Right now, I think is more the focus on B2B. But I believe like maximum 6 months or a year, it will be great for also B2C products, or a lot of them. We totally forgot. Well, we're only 7 days out to the next YC application. So we'll keep pushing.
Keep you updated.
Guys, we'll keep you updated once we have actually applied and maybe even got feedback from YC. Well, we'll see. Keep you updated. All right, guys. Cheers. Peace.